Boston College Eagles. Joe Augustine, number 3 from Chicago, starting at defense, along with number 15, George Amadon from International Falls, Minnesota. Paul Hammer, number 11 from Aurora, Minnesota. Joe Mullen, the explosive winger from New York City. And Bill Army, who's home here in Providence, Rhode Island tonight, will center that line. And here's Paul Skidmore, some kind of goaltender.
I think he's one of the outstanding goaltenders in college hockey, not just the East. And he put on a great show, I thought, last night against Bowling Green. And when BC made any lapses, he was there.
Well, Skidmore is the more polished goalie. There's no question about that. That's no slight on Craig. Skidmore's probably the best college hockey goalie I've seen since I've been watching college hockey. He's very well controlled around the net. I was talking to him last night. He was saying the biggest thing that he's worked on in the last 2 years, since he came up as a freshman, he was the ECAC Rookie of the Year, was his concentration. He's got terrific concentration around the net. He controls the play as well as any goalie in college right now. And by that I mean he's swallowing up his rebounds. He's keeping passes from going out in front of the net, holding his angles, making all the stops that he has.
Hello, Rink Rats. We're here with the long-awaited interview with my childhood idol, my teenage idol. My dad was my hero. This guy was my idol, and now he's my long-lost friend, and he was my original bucket list thought, but nobody knew where he was, and I found him in about 2 minutes out in, of all places, the state of Utah. So I'm going to introduce the greatest NCAA goaltender of the 1970s, my buddy Paul James Skidmore. Skiddy, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good, Joey. How you doing?
I'm doing real good, talking to you, pal. Everybody's been saying, when are you going to talk to Skiddy? When are you going to talk to Skiddy? But we get the time differences kind of screwed us up, and I know we played a lot of phone tag.
Between that and the COVID virus and everything else.
Yep.
It's taking its toll.
Yep. And I got my mask on, Skiddy. I just rested it up on the top of my head.
my city to the right of me.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh, God. Put it on the top of your head. Let's really rock this out, all right, kid?
I don't know. The wife's sitting here.
Hi, Pam.
She said hi. Hi.
Thank you for letting me steal the kid. Let's see where we're going to begin here. I've got 5.5 pages of random notes and questions from people, from some of the Eagles out there in Eagle Land that wanted to talk to you. But I think let's start out where it all began. Let's start out with Long Island and your dad. Tell us about your dad.
Well, I grew up, out in Long Island, New York, and everything.
Skiddy, I'm losing you. Speak up, bud.
Everything kind of evolved around my dad. My dad owned a professional hockey team out in the Eastern Hockey League, which was based off of the movie Slapshot.
The Long Island Ducks.
Exactly. So he was 50% owner, and actually how I found out about hockey was I was going on a road trip with him and not knowing anything, just had a pillow under my arm and a sleeping bag in the other, and went down to the rink and was waiting for the players to load the bus up, and I'm looking out in the rink and I'm seeing all these little kids out there on the ice, and the first thing I said was, "That's what I want to do." I was about 9 years old, and I've been playing baseball, been playing flag football, everything else. Nothing really fancy. My dad kind of pushed me into everything, but that hockey was the only thing that I actually took on by myself.
Were you always a goalie, Skiddy?
No, I started off as a right wing, shot left. Was okay. It wasn't anything special or anything, but on our team, it was a house league team. We had a goaltender named Tommy Dillon, and the only reason why he was the goalie is because he used his older brother's goalie equipment. So it was cheaper for the family to stay as goalies.
I know what you're talking about. We did the same thing.
Yeah, so the older brother passed down his equipment to the younger brother, and he was okay. And then it was just one game. Just all of a sudden, there was one kid that on our team. His name was Richie Campese, and he ended up going to Providence College, a heck of a hockey player.
Yeah.
And he scored like 5 goals in a matter of 5 minutes. And the kid took the equipment, threw it down. I'm done. The coach came over to the bench, looked up and down, says, "Hey, did anybody want to throw it on for the rest of the game?" And I looked up and down, nobody raised their hand, and I just liked the idea the equipment looked cool. You had a big waffle pad, had big leg pads and everything else, and so I raised my hand and then put the equipment on. I came for my first time, not knowing anything, and by the time the game was over, my dad came up to me and says, "Hey, what do you think about staying in goal?" He goes, "One thing you got to remember is that you're in the game the whole game.
Right.
When you're playing wing or defense, you're in about maybe 35% of the time."
Yeah.
So not knowing anything at 9 years old, I said, "Sure." And that's how I became a goaltender.
And that was the beginning of the legend.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was the beginning of a long, tumultuous seasons, year after year after year.
Yep. Back in what kind of pads did you have? Were they Kineskis?
Back in college?
Yeah.
I wore Browns.
They were Browns?
Yeah.
You had 2 pair of pads. The ones you had senior year were awful heavy. Awful heavy.
I think so. They kept changing them year after year, and I tried getting Kineski, but brothers, one ended up taking over the company, and he couldn't keep up with the demand and everything else, and they were real heavy pads.
Yep.
And then went with Brown. He was the up and coming thing at the time, and just kind of went with those.
Skiddy, I want your thoughts on this. Is there anyone or anything you want to dedicate this interview to?
Like to dedicate it to my dad.
All right, we're gonna dedicate this to Mr. Jim Skidmore, who was a really, 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 really good guy, and he had sideburns like Elvis Presley. Just so everybody knows.
He was old school.
He was a good guy. He had that heavy accent. I thought he was from Ireland. It turns out it's a Long Island accent.
Oh yeah, the heavy New York accent.
Wicked heavy. Now, another thing that we talked about last winter, which I never knew about you and you never knew about me, but we were both fortunate enough to be adopted by 2 great dads who got us both into loving the game of hockey. And just how fortunate we were both adopted through Catholic Charities. So, that's the most noble thing of all I think you could do in life. I mean, I'm adopted, and I don't think I could do it, Paul. You know what I mean?
It was special, and they treated me as special. I was adopted as a newborn out in Long Island, and I was never told anything else except they were my parents. As I got older, my mom had a book that she used to read to me about adoption and parents and stuff. So I learned it real early, understood it, and had no problem with it.
And embraced it. Yep. And we've both everybody's had 9 lives. I think I'm on my 10th. But I always say if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't have 99% of the friends I have right now, and you know, it's just I'm very lucky and fortunate. So I always go back to that. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I always go back to that. Now, you were a soccer goalie and a catcher in high school.
Right. Always behind the mask or in front of the goal.
Yep, always block it. Always block it. Now, Long Island Ducks, and then you played you played in that Met League with Muggsy, right?
Yep, the New York Metropolitan Junior League.
Yep.
And it was actually started up by Emil Francis.
That's right. That's right. I knew that. Yeah.
Yep, of the Rangers, and then went to general manager and coach St. Louis, and so I grew up playing against Bobby Francis, and actually another one out of New York was Jeffrion. Remember Boom Boom Jeffrion?
Yes.
Played against his son also, and we hockey was a little bigger through that kind of atmosphere. I mean, there was no high school sanctioned hockey. There was no, established leagues and stuff. We had house leagues, and then they started up travel teams and things like that. And everything.
Right.
So between Bobby Francis and Jeffrion and my dad and just, it was just a league that, just developed. That's where Joey Mullen came out of, and it was really good hockey.
Yeah. How many? Now, you've always been on more than one team at the same time. How many teams were you playing on when you were playing in the Met League?
Oh gosh, growing up, I was probably playing in 3 different leagues and at least 2 to 3 different travel teams.
Yeah.
The Met League, I played there, but at the same time, I was going to prep school. So I used to travel up to Northwood Prep, where it was suggested for me to go to kind of pick my grades up and play against better competition and stuff by Len Stiglarski, who was coach of Boston College.
Yep.
And met his sons. His son went there and stuff, and there were a few other players. Paul Barrett went there, and a few others. Brian Driscoll and I can't remember all of them, but we all came out of there, and it was good school, good competition.
That was like the place to go. So many hockey guys came out of there. It's unbelievable.
It was. I mean, everybody. If you wanted to go anywhere in college, prep school, private school was the way to go because they played against exceptional competition and stuff. But
Yep.
it was not cheap. It was took a toll on parents everywhere.
Yeah. And what'd you tell me? When you were at Northwood, you were on 8 teams at the same time?
Oh gosh, it was Northwood. Not so much. When I was younger, growing up, probably about 14, 15 years old, I played in 3 different leagues, 3 different travel teams. So my dad used to keep notes on a yellow notepad. One season, not including practices, he counted 289 games in one season.
Oh my God!
Yeah. It was, you talk about dedication. I was putting my skates and pads on the back seat of the car. He carried me in because I'd forget my skate guards. And then I'd go from one practice to, and all of a sudden, get back in the car and go to another game 40 miles away and play in a different league. And, it was just crazy, and it actually, because I played in, 3 different leagues that, whatever team I played for was basically the home team out in Comac in Long Island. But any of the leagues, that I played with, if they played against each other, it was always that team. I had to play for the home team, and they'd have to find another goaltender.
Unbelievable.
It was crazy. People thought my dad was crazy.
Well,
At times I did too.
Well, you know what I'm thinking? How much was a gallon of gas back then?
my dad, because he owned the Long Island Ducks, I mean, the only thing he made out of that was basically trading in his car, and he had a new car every year.
Yeah.
And I don't know what gas was back then, but he drove a Cadillac.
Yeah, well, he went in style.
Yeah, I told him to put my skates on one time and cut and ripped the leather seat in the back seat. trying to get dressed, and there was no room back there, you know?
Yeah. that probably hurt the trade-in value, right?
Just a little bit.
Now, you were rated, I'm just going down in line here, you were rated in the Hockey News as U.S. College Hockey's #7 overall prospect in the 1976 NHL Draft, drafted by the St. Louis Blues, 61st overall in the WHA. And I want to get into this. The WHA in '76, you were 73rd overall, drafted by the Cincinnati Stingers, which I think Robbie Fatorik played for them.
Yeah, actually he did. Yeah.
Before the WHA disbanded, and you know, I always maintain this. If the WHA could have hung, you know, they went out of business in '79, probably because they were paying guys ridiculous dough.
Oh yeah, well you start looking at, you know, the Bobby Hulls and everything else that went over there, and all that. It was just like, it was just crazy.
You know, Sanderson getting $1 or $2 million, and I don't think he played 10 games.
Yeah.
But if the WHA hung around, period, but hung around for a few more years, you know, you and a lot of the other American guys would have been 20-year players there. You know, but the NHL just, you know, until 1980, really, the Olympics, they just, it was so hard for the American kids to get up there, you know?
It was. And there's quite a few players that actually broke ground and broke it open for a lot of the American players to make it. I mean, we had players at Long Island before me and Joey went to college that actually played NHL, and you know, maybe not a lot of games, maybe a season or two and everything, but they knew to start looking. And the thing was because of Emil Francis being in New York, and his kid grew up there and played there and stuff, and I mean, he knew. I mean, he tapped in on it a lot earlier than anybody else did.
Emil the Cat, he was a goaltender too, I believe, wasn't he?
Yeah, yes, he was. That's why they call him the Cat, because he had cat-like reflexes.
He was quick, as were you. You know what I can't believe is that he did not grab Ewan Mooney. You know?
Joey never got drafted, but he was approached by Emil Francis with St. Louis, and that's who Joey signed with.
Yep.
I was drafted by Emil, and the reason why I was drafted because Emil Francis was in the stands on Beanpot when we won it my freshman year.
76. Yep, I was there.
Yeah, so Emil was there, and that's how I got drafted.
Yep. You came out after the game. I used to always be at the end of the runway patting you guys on the back before every period and after the game, and you came out after that game, and you put, I don't know how you did it. I mean, you're a strong big cat, but you pushed the knob of your stick down. You had that gigantic knob at the end of the stick, like, you know, a lot of goalies do. And you pushed the blade of the stick down just like with your palm and broke the blade, and then you gave me the stick, and I was like, I don't want a broken stick. You know, and I can remember I went back to the seats at the Garden to meet my dad to leave, and I go, Skinny broke his stick before he gave it to me.
It was probably already broken.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. I can picture it now. Where else did I want to go here? Right? Well, let's talk about BC now that we're on that. You get over to BC, 1975, and what was it like? What was it like that whole experience?
Well, heck, as far as getting into BC and everything, I mean, I didn't know really what to expect. You know, started working out with the teams. I mean, I was never a runner. I run like a duck, you know, so I don't run very well. And having to start training as running around the campus and running around, what's the name of the lake there around, just next to the campus?
The reservoir. That's the reservoir.
Yeah, the reservoir. We used to run around that. It was just like my first year. I was last. I was just like, oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me.
You'd rather swim it than run it.
oh yeah. You know, so, and actually, by the time my last year, I was actually one of the top 5 runners, be able to run around that. I knew what to expect after the first year, but it was eye opening. First year, I loved McHugh Forum. I absolutely loved it.
Well, it's a crowded bus. I missed that rink. That rink was the best.
Oh, I grew up in rinks like that. You know, as far as old in New York and kind of dingy. Lighting wasn't great. Ice was soft, and I loved soft ice instead of the fast, harder ice.
Yep.
And it was just a great experience. You know, just when I started out, I felt kind of bad because I came in and didn't play the first game, but I think it was second or third game, and Willie Wilkins was the goaltender with Dale Redmond as backup, and here I am as a freshman, and they throw me in there, and we ended up winning my first game. But then it was game after game after game, and I got more playing stability and got a lot more positive and felt a lot better about it. And I just felt bad for Billy. Here he is, a senior in his last year, and he basically got pushed out. And you know, I didn't think about it back then, but man, over the years and stuff, it was like I felt bad for that. But at the same time, it was a starting position for me too. And when I'm playing for four straight years.
Yeah. The only time you didn't play was when you were hurt.
Yep. Actually, a couple of times. One was my wrist got slashed.
I remember that. That. Yep.
It was during practice, and there was a pile up in front of the net, and I think it was Steve Barger kind of slid in. His blade went inside my blocker, and instead of pulling the skate out because there was a pile up, he stepped down instead of pulling the skate out, and I just looked down and just like, oh, this is not good.
Did it cut the nerves and everything in the tendons?
No, it was on the back side. So if you look at your knuckles and stuff, it was on my right hand, and it sliced just above
the wrist bone.
Yeah. And I looked down and pulled my arm pad back, and it was probably about an inch wide. Yeah. And I didn't want to know how far it went. And then I barely made it into the locker room, and they cut all the padding and cut everything off of me. They called an ambulance, and ended up being no nerves or anything, and no tendons, and so they stitched it up, and that was it. I
remember that. Was that freshman year or sophomore year? I think it was sophomore year.
I think it was. You know, it took about 45 stitches, but it was.
Oh my God.
It was. It was pretty dramatic for me. I mean, I've never been through that before.
Yep. Good, silver lining. Good thing it wasn't your glove hand.
Or the doctor said if I would have had my hand turned over.
Oh, you cut the veins and see you later.
Yeah, I would have lost the use of my hand.
Well, God bless that we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Now, you said you like the soft ice, and I love the leather pads. I would not. I don't think my father would be able to coach goalies today the way that they play that European style where they don't get up. The rule was always you don't go down.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I could use those pads today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole different style.
Yeah. And you were all over the place. You were like a friggin' acrobat. But, and the thing is, they're all like 6'7", 6'8" today. You're 6 feet tall, I guess, right? 6 feet, 6'1". And you were tall for a goalie back then.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but as I moved on, from college to playing semi-pro, pro, and everything else, I mean, there's a lot of goaltenders a lot shorter than me, and it's like, I don't know. There's all different styles, so I mean, you play the best of your ability, no matter what it takes, as far as how short or tall you are.
Right. Now, when you guys are at BC, did you guys have any team rules about going out the night before a game or anything, or did you kind of self-police yourself?
There were always team rules, and the thing is that, I mean, college hockey Division I, I mean, that's top line. I mean, it's like, your top schools in football, whether it be, Notre Dame and everything else, and notoriety. We were on our way up as far as coming from, BC had been in the playoffs for a few years. Yeah. So it was a matter of self-discipline.
Yep.
And we stayed in, and the thing was from freshman year on up, we had some good years. We got BC turned around.
Yeah.
And that's what it took. I mean, there were some players that took advantage of the situation and did their thing and this and that and whatever. But in order for you to sustain the level of play that you wanted to, you knew what you had to do.
Yep. And when they recruited you, I think they were primarily recruiting you, and then they saw Joey,
Yeah. It was because I had gone to the hockey schools and camps. I went to all the camps back on the East Coast where all the college coaches were instructing and coaching and stuff. And so my dad figured, that was the way to get into college as far as possibly get a scholarship and go that route. So they already knew about me. And, it was a matter of they couldn't talk to me about going to school or anything until after I was of age and out of high school or by junior year, and when I was legally able to make a decision. And I was recruited, I didn't even know about half of them, but my dad told me I was recruited by about 80 schools.
Yeah.
So,
and your dad kind of kept that quiet though, right?
Yeah, but I think he was guiding me to it. I mean, him and Lenny we got to be good friends, and I got to know the kids, Babe and Mark and everybody, pretty good too and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was basically where I was headed. I mean, but the thing was that, because of the Metropolitan Junior League, that's where Lenny came down, watch the play and everything, and my dad got him to come down just to specifically watch Joey. Joey ended up scoring, I think it was like, in a 20, 25 game season, he scored like 135, 140 goals.
Yeah, he had sick stats in that league.
So, and his brother was the same way, his older brother.
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy went to AIC in Massachusetts.
Tommy was a 2-time All-American there.
Yeah. And then, so Lenny came down to see Joey. Joey had a horrible game. And then my dad just was adamant about, hey, you got to come back. You got to see this kid play. And so without telling anybody in the whole bit, Lenny came back, saw him in the stands. I think Joey scored like 7 goals in one game. And he goes, I see what you mean. So Lenny went back, and they were out of scholarships for hockey, and he didn't want to lose Joey, so he borrowed a soccer scholarship.
I know that. Yep.
And the got Joey a scholarship until the next year where they could repay them back, and got Joey in.
Let's think about that one. Can you imagine doing that today?
Oh, I mean, the legal ramifications, I don't know if it's legal or not.
No, it's not legal.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you're allowed in for a particular team in a particular league. I mean, you can't borrow from softball and take it for hockey and then pay them back the next year. I just like, I don't get it, it just worked.
There was an awful lot of, let's say, violations in those days.
Well, I think the ECAC was still learning.
Well, I don't know if they started enforcing rules in spite of you guys or because of you guys. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, how many years did you live in our house? There you go. My father would be in jail today.
Oh gosh, 2 years?
Yeah,
maybe?
I think it was 2 years.
Good bad.
Yep, and then you and Joey and Tommy, when you guys were trying out for the 1980 Olympics, you stayed in the other house that my dad was selling when we moved into my grandfather's house. I remember you guys playing street hockey in the driveway.
Just like kids.
Yep, and I had to clean that house after you left.
Don't blame me. It was
I think there was a couple of parties in that house.
I was very young then. I don't know.
Yep. Take the fit, Skinny. I don't recall.
Yep, it cleaned up.
Now, we talked about this last night. Do you remember the senior year game when you had that guy wrapped in the corner and you got game misconduct and tossed, and they had to put Dougie Ellis in? You manhandled this guy at Providence. It was hysterical. You never took your mask off. And you were gone. I was on the bench. I was like, what is he doing? That might have been the game that you had the 16-ounce porterhouse steak before the game for the pregame meal.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, you look over the years, and the one thing that we were weak on for year after year after year was defensemen, and nothing against Augie or
yeah. Try to think of someone else, Skinny. Try.
I just talked about a month ago. I don't want Augie hearing this. Augie, we're good.
Augie, I asked Augie if he had a question for you, and Joey said, just tell him thanks for saving my ass so many times.
But we were in the early stages as far as being able to have an offense that could start scoring goals.
Yeah.
Because of Joey, because of Paul Barrett, because of Robbie Riley, and it opened things up a little bit more.
Right.
We had a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
But the depth chart for defensemen, I mean,
it was scant.
I mean, game after game after. I mean, I'm taking 50, 60 shots, and it's just like, oh my God. So, it kind of gets to you. And I remember Providence, they had Jim Corn on defense, and they had, who was there? Ronnie Wilson?
Yeah, I was going to say the Wilson brothers, yeah.
I mean, they had a heck of a team. And, I probably just snapped.
Yeah. Well, your last game at Princeton, you got them all back.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
So let me make you feel further at home, Paul. Skidmore. Skidmore.
I heard that at Dartmouth. I heard that at New Hampshire. I heard that all up and down the East Coast. I heard it in every building.
I used to get so pissed.
Oh. I mean, it was like, but at the same time, I was ready to raise my arms and do it with the movement as far as, just like a guy in the orchestra with a baton just go, Skidmore.
Yep.
Yeah, just, but at the same time, the thing was why were they on me so much?
Because you were above average, perhaps.
And the only thing that was between me and actually, for them scoring was me.
Yeah.
End result, and I just had a good career in college. It was a lot of fun. It was stressful, but it was more fun than anything else.
Yep. Let me just run through here. All right, let me throw some names at you. Jimmy Pertet, the digger.
The equipment manager?
What a good guy he was, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, he just a clown, just a good all-around guy, always there for you. He just always took care of the players and everything else.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I was his assistant. He'd go, Joey, go get the bags, go get the sticks. And if I wasn't sitting in the press box, I would be on that. Do you remember that? Like it was like a table or platform behind the bench.
Yeah.
And I used to stand there with him for every game.
That reminds me of a story when I was a little kid. When my dad owned the Ducks, I used to hang around the locker room all the time. And I mean, John Brophy played for my dad. And but there was one time I'm hanging around the locker room, just bugging everybody in the whole bed. And Trainer turns around, he goes, here, take this bucket. He goes, go get me a bucket of steam. I'm like, what? So it's like I go to the rink manager and with this bucket, and I go, where do I find some steam? He goes, what?
Yep.
He just wanted me out of his hair, It's just like, so here I am for a half an hour, 45 minutes looking for a bucket of steam.
Yep. I can remember Roy Fowler would call in the subs at the college sub shop for an away game, and we'd put everything on the bus, and then I'd run in and get all the subs for everybody. And
that is one place I miss more than anything in the world.
Oh, those subs were deadly, man.
They had the best egg salad. They had the best all the sandwiches. There was not a bad sandwich made.
Yep, they're not there anymore. They turned it into a market.
No, what a shame. You're just. It was right at the end of the line.
Yep, the T line. Yep.
Yep, and I mean, we used to have tickets for food to eat at the cafeteria and stuff. I mean, full scholarship, everything's paid for in the whole bed. But I would spend my own money to go there. Just it was tops.
Yep. And do you remember Pino's pizza place across from Marianne's?
Yes. Oh yeah.
That pizza's killer.
Yep. That was really good. Late night, but it was good.
Yeah, that was a good 1:30 a.m. stop.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And the same guys work there. It's like a time capsule. The exact same guys work there.
They probably own the place now.
Oh, they do, and they own another one up the road. Oh, Skiddy, I cracked a beer a little while ago, just so you know. All right. So I'm gonna toast you, brother. Here we go.
Here we go. I got you toasted.
All right, kid. Billy Army.
Billy Army. Heck of a player.
I mean, did he ever lose a face-off? I don't think so.
He was good. He was a lot of fun.
Was Billy a roommate? He was your roommate one year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. We had an apartment for about 6 guys. And he had one thing I just loved that he had. I mean, he used to play this at Halloween, like he would play Death. He had this black cape and black hoodie, which covered him completely, so you couldn't see who it was. And it was just like, I just wanted to wear that one time, and he wouldn't let me do it, But heck of a player, and he went on doing pretty good.
Yeah. He had the quickest hands. I remember he used to roll up like a 5 or 10 pound weight all the time in the locker room with his wrist to strengthen his wrists.
That was probably why he was so good on faceoffs.
Yeah, he could draw. He drew the puck right back on a defenseman's stick. Like
he did. Yeah, he was very good at that.
Now let's talk about the full-length leather jacket. Did you get that from Dick Lambie that fell off a truck in the Worcester Mafia area?
I don't think I had a full-length leather jacket. You can't afford those in college.
You absolutely had a full-length leather jacket.
I don't remember that. I don't think so.
Yes, you did. I'm telling you, you did.
Black or brown?
It was brown. It was brown.
That might have been the one that shrunk.
Yep.
No, I don't remember where I got it or anything else. Maybe I bought it from somebody else. I bought it used.
Yep. There was a bunch of them that fell off a truck, and all the BU guys got one.
I wasn't that close to BU.
I think the guy's name was Raccoon Calhoun from Worcester. I think he did some time. I think he's on the outside now, though.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, what about Bobby Ferreter? Bubba.
Bobo.
Bobby Ferreter. He was like Phil Esposito, wasn't he?
Okay, now you're talking. I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of Bobby Hare.
Okay, right. Okay, Ferreter. Yeah, he was the mainstay. When I came in, I was so young, and he was already, I think, a junior or a senior.
He was a senior. He was a senior your freshman year.
He was just one of the guys that you just looked up to. He wasn't one of the crazies or anything else. I mean, he just came in, did his thing, was quiet,
yep,
and just always made his presence known.
Yep.
And you just knew who he was and what he was.
Yeah, we lost him a few years ago, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Bobby here's another guy that didn't lose too many face-offs.
He just lost too many brain cells.
The Rocket, like all of us, right? We're all on that last critical brain cell. Yep. Dave Taylor. Remember Dave Taylor? He had 107 points one year.
Dave Taylor.
Up at Clarkson.
Clarkson, yeah. No, I played against him. We actually, went against them. I think we had to win our last game of the season. I don't know if it was them or not. I can't remember. If it was Clarkson, but Dave Taylor was one of the tops in all of ECAC hockey. I mean, he went on to play with the Kings.
Yeah, he played for the Kings. Yep.
Yep, with everybody there. I mean, just he was always tops. I mean, he was always there scoring and everything else.
And
he was always a threat.
Ralph Cox, Lance Netherly, those are the guys that were on my top list.
Yep. That I'm trying to think.
Rod Langway, there you go. Yep, played for Montreal for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy Craig.
Okay, next.
Okay. Let's talk about you, bro. I love it. You hot shit. Diplomacy is the way to fly, dude. If you can't say anything good, don't say anything. Shane, what about your brother Shane?
Let's go back to Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy, I got along with him.
Yep.
We battled in the newspapers, basically.
Yep.
When I had a good game, Jimmy. Oh, you look at freshman year, we had. I don't think Jimmy played freshman year. I think it was.
No, he didn't. DeRozier did.
Yeah, DeRozier played. But any time that we played against, BC against BU, I always won the awards, but he always won the games.
Yeah, well, they were so loaded and they were so deep. We've talked about that.
They were. It was everything I could do to do whatever I could the night before a game. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Just like, I had diarrhea. Just like, I didn't even want to play. Just like, I get myself so psyched up in order to play against them. They had such talent.
Yeah. So you didn't have your pregame spaghetti before BU games?
Oh, that's what gave me diarrhea.
Oh, dear. Okay.
This way I was lighter for the game.
Plus, you'd sweat like a New Year's Eve Times Square hooker during the game. You probably lost 10 pounds every game.
I used to lose anywhere between 5 and 7 pounds a game.
I mean, you would be just... It was like somebody put a fire hose on you after the game.
Yeah. No, I was always like that.
Yep. And the 78 Beanpot, you got hurt. I think you pulled your groin, and then you came back and played UNH, and you had 49 saves after that at the end of the season.
Right.
But I remember you were out for a while, and I think Mikey Cronin played for a bit there.
Yeah.
Do you remember Richie Smith?
Oh, of course. What's the first thing I thought about Richie was, he's married? I'm going, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, set all the records and everything else, and until Joey came in, and Joey just, took over everything that Richie had and everything. But Richie Smith was the Joey Mullen of old.
Before Joey Mullen, yes, you're right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know what they say? You know what they say now? Johnny Gaudreau was Joey Mullen after Joey Mullen.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. They just everybody gets it bigger and better.
And quick as shit now.
Yeah, they do.
Quick as shit. All right, let's talk about the big guy, Gustavo Augustine, Joe Augustine.
Augie doggy. What do you want to know?
Tell me everything.
I'll tell you 70% of it.
Okay. Joe.
No,
shout out to Joe. We're going to save 30%. Okay.
Joey was one of the easiest guys to get along with and get to know. When he came in, it was basically, he did his thing. He had good size. And I'm going, yes, I got this guy in front of me. Just don't stand in front of me. Just...
Yeah, because he's 6'3", he's a giant.
Just take the guys, move them to the side, and let me see the shot, And Augie was in the same position I was. He was probably the top defenseman that we had, but he didn't have any help to help him.
Yeah.
And sad to say, Augie probably would have been noticed a lot more if he had somebody else to let him stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
He was doing two guys worth of work in one body.
You're right. And
there was only so much he could do, and I know it was frustrating for him. I know that, and it was frustrating for me, but we worked with what we had and everything. But he was easy guy to get along with. He was a good hockey player, really good. I mean, big, strong, great skater, could shoot the puck. Yep. He had a good mind for the game. He really did. I mean, he understood it. He knew his job and everything else, but he didn't get the recognition I think that he deserved.
Yeah, that's why he's such a great coach. He coached his 1,000 games last year.
Yeah, I talked to him about that, and he's still humbled, and he's still down to earth as he always was. He wasn't one of the guys that hung out, in the bars all the time and everything else. I mean, he just pretty much kept to himself and did his work and did what he had to do.
Yeah. Same thing with all you guys. The same thing with all you guys. And Mooney, talk about humble. Joey's like too humble.
I know. But you got to understand where he came from too.
No, I know. I saw him last September at a thing that we went to for Kevin Stevens, and I said, Joey, what was it like when you got to BC and you saw grass on the ground? And he just started laughing like, yeah, it was different.
It was. And, the way he grew up and everything, I mean, it was nice to see him get out of the city, but it was nice to see him take care of his family in the city.
I mean, think about this, and when you want to define character, this is the only one place you need to go with Joey. He would have been the best player on the 1980 Olympic team, but his family's flat burnt to the ground, and he had to take the $30,000 salary to help his folks out. I mean, think about that.
Oh, I know. I saw the way they lived. I mean, you walk up the stairs to their apartment, and the stairs were on a slant. But underneath the stairs, you had bums and people, homeless people living underneath. Stairs were slanted, and they were dug out from them going up and down with their roller skates, playing roller hockey all the time.
Yeah. So he skated like he was on roller skates.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, he had to be retaught, and the Coach Zaglarski retaught him how to skate and how to get a bigger stride out of it rather than a choppy stride.
Yeah.
But I remember going to dinner to his place and sitting down with all of his family, and you had to almost hold on to your plate because the building was on so much of an angle.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you're talking Hell's Kitchen. It was.
Yeah.
Not a great place to live, but they did the best they could, and they did a great job.
Yeah, and now it's all gentrified down there. Now it's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
And the drugs and everything that they were surrounded by, hockey.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how they ended up the way they did. I mean, they did an unbelievable job.
Hockey was the outlet. Why number 29?
Ken Dryden.
Kenny Dryden. Did you wear 29 up at Northwood and prior to that?
No, I think it was 130. It was always the traditional numbers.
Yeah.
1 or 30. 29 was what Ken Dryden wore.
Yep.
I was being compared to him. So it was like, out of respect for him, I took 29. And it was like, I used to, as a goaltender would rest when the play's down the other end of the ice, I would lean on my stick just like Ken Dryden did.
Yep.
Just because he was my idol. It was just cool to look at.
Yeah.
But,
yep.
they talked about the days at Cornell when Dryden was there and stuff. And I remember going in there and one year, and we shut them out. And it was one of the years that they were one of the top teams.
Yep.
And newspaper the next day was just like, it's like never since the days of Ken Dryden has this happened to Cornell, as far as another goalie showing them the other way. So it was like, that was kind of neat. I thought that was special.
Hey, if you're going to be compared to, like he's your guy. I talked to Jimmy Logue. Jimmy said his guy was Terry Sawchuk. My father's guy was Frankie Brimzik, Mr. Zero.
Sure.
And, I can't compare myself to any of you three, but you were my guy. But I always wanted 29 because of you, but I always got 30. I think one year I grabbed 35.
You just, that would have been another number for me because of my idol, Tony Esposito, besides Dryden.
Tony O. And tell me about, you played with him in, 1981 or 80?
It was 1981. It was the Canada Cup, to where all the professional players represent their team. And I was able to go to...
I lost you, Skiddy. Come back.
Yep. I was able to go to the Canada Cup 1981. Got to call in the middle of summer. I was not in good shape. But, we had Ken Morrow. Robbie Fatorik was the captain of the team.
Oh, my God.
There was Mark Howe.
Oh, Jesus. Talk about loaded. Wow.
Rod Langway. And it was like, cool. I was like, here I am on Team USA, and the first time I go to lace up my pads and everything else in the locker room, and who do you think is the number one goaltender? My idol, Tony Esposito.
Tony O.
What amazed me that was the only reason why that was the first year he got his American citizenship.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That was fortuitous. Yeah, that's good.
He was, another lucky stat for me, huh?
Yep. Yep.
But one thing about Tony O, one of the greatest goaltenders that ever played the game.
Absolutely.
But one thing I tell everybody to this day is when Tony gets dressed, do you know the product Kramer?
No, I do not.
It's called an atomic bomb, to where you put it on your body and it's heat. You can use it for injuries and stuff like that, and it's orange. Anyway, it comes in a big container and stuff, and all sports teams have it. It's made by Kramer.
Yep.
And it's called atomic bomb. And when he was getting dressed, he had the trainer with gloves on.
All right, Rink Rats, we're back. We were inadvertently cut off last night with Mr. Paul James Skidmore due to my lack of technology skills. We were both goalies, and we're both mental giants, but we're both technological retards. So, but we're making the best with the little God gave us, I think. Skiddy, where we got cut off, and you were talking about one of your idols, Dryden, but you were talking about Tony Esposito and in the locker room putting that stuff all over him.
Yeah, it was with the Canada Cup, 1981, and in the locker room, I got called by Team USA, and Tony Esposito was the main goaltender. He just got his citizenship, and so he was the American goalie, even though he was Canadian. But the one thing I remember about Tony O was when he'd get dressed in the locker room, and I noticed the trainer putting this orange stuff all over him. It's actually called atomic bomb. It's kind of like a heat agent to loosen you up, muscles and everything else, but this stuff is like 10 times stronger. And it was just rubbing it all over his body. His underwear was all orange from this stuff. The company's name, I think, was Kramer. Yep. Kramer took the bomb. And the reason why he did that was it's so hot it would numb his body because of his style. He played. He was down on his knees all the time.
Yeah, he was a flopper. He always had a split save.
Yeah, and then he would take shots off of his chest and his arm.
Yep. Come back to the phone, Paulie. I'm losing you, kid.
I am. I'm still here.
Okay.
But yeah, he put all this stuff all over him to numb his body, and so this way he wouldn't feel the shots on his upper body.
He was so good. And you know what? Most of the years, he was on relatively mediocre teams, like you. So it all fell on him,
Sure.
It all fell on him. Jeez, I don't know what they were paying that trainer to rub it all over his body, but it wasn't enough, man.
Oh, he wore gloves. Just like
All right, and now I love this story. So Lenny turns you on to Ernie Higgins, whose son preceded you with Nettie Yetton in goal, and he really is. He was a plumber or an electrician. I think he was a plumber.
He was a plumber, yeah.
A plumber, and he had that niche market with the NHL guys and everybody with the mask.
Yeah, I walked into his office. For the first time that I've ever met him, walked into his back room where he used to make these masks, and all I see is all these sculptures of heads. And they were, all the big goaltenders of the time that wore his mask, like Gilles Meloche and, for LA Kings and whoever else wore them.
Yep.
And, you see all these names up on the wall, whether it be Ken Dryden, whether it be him. And it was just kind of unique. But actually how he made the mask, I remember, he'd lay me down and he had the top of a shoebox with different sizes of faces cut out on it, and he'd put this over your face, and then he'd put a plastic wrap over your hair, and then cover everything else with Vaseline, and then put these plastic things on your nose, your eyes, and everything else. And so next thing you know, he's pouring this plaster on me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I thought I was going to die. I was claustrophobic, and the only thing you can't see anything. You only breathe out of these 3 straws that are coming out of your mouth, and you got to wait for this thing to harden. And that's, when it did, he'd lift everything up as one mold, and then he'd make the mask from the mold.
Oh, I would have had a panic attack. I would have lost my mind.
Oh, I did. It took me everything just to stay there.
My dad talked to him about making a mask for me when I was in high school, because I wanted your mask with the eagle, and Ernie said that my face, I wasn't old enough, my face wasn't finished growing yet,
Sure.
So, but I always wanted that clay mask, man.
I'm looking at it right now, and it's pretty unique.
This is the best I can do, the one I'm holding up right now. So, but I wore a cage. You wore a cage when you were little, and then you wore a cage when you were playing pro. And I could see how you can see better, but those clay masks, man, they were so cool.
Yeah, they look cool, and then everybody started coming out with designs, stitches, and painting them and everything else. And
Yep. I actually wanted to duplicate your eagle for this mask that Brian Burke, my buddy Brian Burke, who played against you, played for Notre Dame. He told me to get a mask for the COVID thing and interview guys with a mask on, and. So I had it made, and a friend of mine painted it. But your eagle was so intricate, she couldn't do it. So I just had, a different kind of eagle made with some Cheever stitches. So
yeah, I had it was somebody in school. It was a student that actually did that eagle on my mask.
That painted it, really?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. So it was a student. So Ernie didn't paint it. You had somebody do it. Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, somebody at Boston College. It was just a student in art class, and they were just big hockey fans and stuff. I said, here, give it a shot.
That is so cool. I mean, that mask, you're looking at it now, that mask is killer.
Yeah.
And your son is there. Andrew, you're going to inherit that mask, okay?
Yeah. You're not wrong there.
Let me see. Where were we? Now, your first year, you used a Sherwood, and then you used a Northwood, and then you used a Canadian. And I know that because, obviously, I went to every game, but I used to get your hand-me-down sticks and stuff. The Sherwoods were heavy. Which stick did you prefer using? The Canadians were light. The Northwoods were light.
Canadian was a little bit stronger. The Sherwoods, they were okay at first, and then depending on what you had done to it. I mean, it was a certain model and everything else, and I switched to Northland because it was the lightest stick.
Yep, and you could shoot. I mean, you played the puck. I mean, you could. I can remember, when you mentioned you were a right wing and a left-handed shot. I remember the optional practices where Lenny used to let me put my pads on and come out and practice with you guys. I'm like 13, 14. I got Joey Mullen shooting on me. I mean, what a thrill that was, you know what I mean? And you'd be standing next to me, and we would alternate taking shots and stuff. But you could fire that puck with your glove in a goalie stick, like beyond the blue line.
Oh, I used to practice it all the time. I'd stay about 15, 20 feet out in front of the net, and I'd practice picking corners. Up, down, lower.
Yep.
And I always had the dream of trying to score a goal. So, like when they pulled the goalie and stuff like that, I always shot it from one end to the other. And came close a couple of times.
Yep. Short-handed, you just dump it down the middle, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. Only a few guys have done that. I was trying to find out how many assists you had, and I couldn't find any stats on that. I couldn't find any stats.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, I'm sure you bagged a few of them,
Oh, heck, all you had to do is dump it to Joey, and just take it down the ice, or, next I had an assist.
It's a great memory for me. Speaking of Joey, Joey never goes away. Everybody loves Joey. And when I'd skate at the practices, Joey would be like in front of me, just ahead of the crease. When I'm just a kid, I'm like 14 years old, and he would toe drag the puck back and forth and torture me in front of the net. And like just playing with my head, and I would just be like, shoot the thing, and he was such a good shit. He would shoot it, and I knew it then, and I know it now. He would shoot it directly into my glove.
Yeah,
So I can say I've robbed Joey Mullen. Okay.
Well, he never did that to me. He came down and tried to score on me every time in practice.
Were there any guys in practice that used to deliberately fire at your head?
Not purposely, but it would get out of hand sometimes.
Yeah, just screwing around.
Yeah.
And Brian Burke, I don't know if when we ended yesterday, if this was included or not, but he scored on you from the blue line, and that's all we're going to say about him. We'll give him bragging rights on that. You probably didn't see it. You were probably putting snow on the side of the post or something.
Probably something. I have some excuse.
And Jimmy Walsh, our mutual buddy, rink length rush. And I talked to him last night after we spoke, and he was laughing about that. Let me see. Now we haven't got too stats heavy. We're just chatting, but I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but your save percentage at BC was 29.06 saves per game, which is number one in BC history.
Oh, I didn't know that.
29.06, you're number one in BC history, and this is crazy. 2,761 saves.
Well, that was just against BU, though.
But I want to explain this. You're fifth in oh shit! You're fifth in BC history in saves. But what I need to qualify and quantify this with is before you played, the previous highest save total was over 1,000 saves under that. Okay.
Really, for 4 years?
4 or 3, yeah, anything.
Wow.
So I mean, you beat out everybody before you by over 1,000 saves. But since then, with the styrofoam guys, and they played probably 40% more games than you guys played. So it's guys like Clemenson and people like that have more saves, but they played a shitload more games. And you won the Snooks Kelly Award, which is awarded to the player that best typifies BC hockey, which is my favorite award. I think that's a better award than the MVP and everything. And
that's pretty unique.
In all New England in 76 and 77. You had 3 shutouts at BC. And let me see what else here. My handwriting is brutal. The nuns didn't teach me anything, man. My handwriting is brutal. I think you were all East a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
I think so too.
Yeah, yep. And you're Beanpot Hall of Fame and BC Hall of Fame, deservedly so. You had great Beanpots, man.
That first one was the best.
Oh, I'm telling you, I can picture the whole game. I can picture the whole game, and what I can remember, and I don't know if it was that or an ECA hockey game or another Beanpot game. And I remember Joey came in. I can't remember who it was against. It would have been, whoever, Northeastern, Harvard, or BU. and he came straight in on goal. And you know, when he got the puck, he was gone, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And he came straight in on goal, and he backed the goalie, like, onto the goal line, and he could have gone anywhere with it, you know. When he was pinpoint, he was an assassin, and he could hit you from anywhere, and he put it over the goalie's shoulder and roofed it over the goalie, who was in the net. And I said to myself, oh, you know, wow, talk about confidence, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He could have put that anywhere. He could have put that anywhere.
And he used to be like that. I mean, he did that roller hockey before he even played ice hockey, and then ice hockey. I mean, the teams they used to have, I mean, it was like a team full of Joeys. I mean, they were just sharpshooters. Do
you remember the game? There was when defenseman got hurt, and we talked about Augie like having an overloaded work schedule, but Joey played defense for a while, and he was awesome on defense.
He did, and the main reason I think was on power plays.
Yeah.
They put him on the point, just let him fire.
He played the left point, and he had that slap shot he had. Oh my God.
Yes, I know. I felt it.
Oh. Yes, I still have bruises to prove it.
I do. They've never gone away. Mentally and physically.
Yeah. Well, he was nice enough to me. He just tossed it in my glove, and that made me happy. So, now let me see. We talked about the pads. And then, you know what, you mentioned last night, the soft ice. Explain that to me. Why did you like the soft ice?
Actually, I always had my skates sharper than most goaltenders. A lot of goaltenders would do a flat grind on it, so they could slide a little bit more.
That's what I did. I used to dull it on the wood on the bench before I went out.
I would do that only right after it got sharpened, just so I could slide a little bit. But with my style, I wanted to dig into the ice and be able to push off from one side to the other.
That's a good strategy. And but the thing is, I mean, did you squeegee or did you sop up the water with your pads and make them 10 pounds heavier?
Well, those old leather pads were heavy enough to begin with.
Oh my God! And you know, we were talking about Koneskis with the horsehair. Forget about it, man. Oh my God!
I know.
Now Jimmy Logue had a couple of questions, and Jimmy played late 50s, early 60s, and I never saw him play, but everybody says my dad, Jimmy, and you are the three guys. You know, over 100 years. So wrap your head around that one. All right.
Yeah.
Jimmy said, "How do you compare the styles, the stand up versus today? You know, when they're on their knees, that European style. You know, would you?"
It just depends on how you were actually brought up and what kind of competition that you're actually playing against. You know, back in the days, I mean, for me, my style was to actually come out far enough to take away the shot, and my skating ability was enough to where I could come back fast enough and keep the angle cut down, and they would try to beat me each time that way. But I could move left or right, you know, both sides with equal access, you know. And,
do you reckon that you're ambidextrous?
I wouldn't say that. I've built quite a few muscles, but
yeah. Well, that was just your style. Really wasn't conducive to not getting hurt.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always stayed thin, so this way I always like to be more mobile than actually be thicker and more muscular and you know, take shots that way.
Right. Let's see.
And like I said too, as far as with the equipment nowadays, I don't know if I could use those pads. I mean, they're probably 50 times lighter,
Oh, they weigh nothing. They weigh absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but they also look like they're hard as a rock too.
Yeah, but they don't control the puck as well, I don't think.
I wouldn't think so either. You know, I think they would ricochet off of them a lot more.
They don't.
And I've seen that with a lot of the goalies that are wearing these old new pads and stuff.
Yeah, they don't control the rebounds as well. And the thing is with you were so quick. I mean, you would take a shot off the pads and literally in a motion, you would kick it like out to the blue line.
Sometimes they did, yeah.
You know, and I can remember seeing that and I'd be like, how the hell did he do that? Oh, my God. Now, Steve Cedar had a couple of questions. And Cedar said, how much fun was it winning the ECAC in 1978?
Oh, it was absolutely wonderful. I mean, you look to where BC had come from, even just my freshman year and Joey's freshman year and Augie's. And, you know, I mean, they hadn't been in the playoffs for I think 5 or 6 years. 1973,
they went to the Final Four. They came in third. I think that was the previous time.
Yeah, so it was pretty unique. I mean, over the years, because of what we had built up and the teams that they had built, you can see the crowds. I mean, more and more in McHugh Forum, I mean, it would just be packed, and it was an exciting time. You know, it was pretty unique. I mean, the teams that we had to beat and everything in order to win that. I mean, it was University of New Hampshire and just, it was just incredible. I mean, they had top-notch players, like you said, Ralphie Cox and Langway and all those guys, and Dave Taylor and so it was quite an accomplishment. I think we all felt that pretty good.
Yeah, Lance Netherly, he had kind of a stilted way of skating, but he was deadly with a puck.
Yes, he was.
He was deadly with a puck. Now, who were the toughest guys you faced? Opponents. Who were the guys that you were just like, oh crap, here they come?
The guys or the teams?
Both. Well, both. Let's go both.
Oh heck! I mean, you look at Ralphie Cox, Taylor. You look at gosh, I mean, just the BU players alone. When Aruzioni used to come down the ice and Fiddler and just O'Callahan. I mean, it was nonstop. I mean, just every time they came down the ice, as soon as they passed over the red line, it's like, oh, here we go again.
You want to hear something funny? About 30 years ago, I'm not kidding you, and I ran into. Oh, I got to tell you 2 stories. All right. About 30 years ago, I'm at Mary Ann's, ironically, of all places, okay? 35 years ago, maybe. And who's in there? Mark Fiddler.
Oh, was he really?
Mark Fiddler's in there, and I recognized him right off the bat, and I walked over to him, and I go, I introduced myself, and, he was like, nice to meet you and everything, and then I said, you scored on my friend in the 1978 NCAA final, top shelf, right-hand corner, Paul Skidmore. And he goes, yep. And I go, I hate you. And he just started laughing. We had a couple of beers together. He just started laughing. I was like, I hate you because of that.
It still sticks in my mind as far as how the heck did he beat me like that. I think he caught me. It was too quick right at the beginning of the game. And
it was a quick pass. I've watched that game a couple of times. It was a quick pass, and he was right there.
Yeah.
And you were probably already just, totally exhausted at that point.
Yeah, especially against them.
It was probably an effort just to raise your glove up. But he was funny. At the end, he goes, thank you for saying hi.
Especially in a BC watering hole.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing there. But, and then I have to tell this story. And I told Jackie Parker this story when we talked on the phone one night. And, not to rehash this, but I have to tell this story, especially to you. And I think I already mentioned to you, but I have to tell this on film. So we're going to the 1978 final game from the hotel. And I'm on the minibus with you. I think I was sitting in your lap, or I was right next to you, and Mooney's next to us, and Jim Craig pulls up in a car next to us, and he's sitting shotgun. He's got like a 2-day beard going, and he just looks up at us, and he gives us this. Okay? He gives us the peace sign with the wrong finger, okay?
Yeah.
For about 30 seconds. And I'm 14. I think I was 14. And I'm like, and they weren't tinted windows, so he's looking right at me. And I was like, I'm not going to say it, but it's a family show. And it was a complete psych job. Now, fast forward, I'm 20, let's go 27, and I bartended for a bunch of years. I used to bartend at the club at Northeastern Rink for years, but I also did catering and stuff. So I'm catering a party for this guy at Marina Bay in Quincy, like a real nice top shelf penthouse. He was a lawyer. We ran for mayor once. What was his name? David Finnegan. And I'm bartending, so I got the kitchen all set up. Who walks in but Jim Craig, who I guess was a client of his. So right away, I'm like, okay, and all I'm thinking about is him flipping us the bird, okay? This is 12 years later. You don't think I'm a patient assassin, man? Okay? So he comes over and he goes, White Russian, easy on the milk. Okay? So I go, okay. So I pour not even a thimble of vodka in there, not even a thimble of Kahlua, and I load that thing up with milk, okay? I mean, the only reason I put Kahlua in was just to give it color to fake him out, right?
Oh, sure.
So he walks back and he's talking to a couple of honeys who are looking at him like he's Elvis Presley, right? And he takes a sip and he looks over at me with this really sour look on his face, like, like, what the hell is this? And I just waved. I was like, "Hi, Jimmy. How you doing? Hi." And then, but I got him cocked after that. I filled the glass up all the way after that. But that was my revenge.
You did good.
That was my revenge. I want you to tell the story about your last game at Princeton with the machine gun.
Oh. I forgot about that. Did I do it to the crowd? Or?
Yeah, you did it to everybody who was razzing you.
Yeah, I think we won the game. It was at Princeton, wasn't it?
I know you won the game. I want to say 5-3, and I have a book 10 feet away from me that I could look it up, but I think it was 5-3.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, and then we talked about that, last night. As far as I go into the rink, and the whole rink we go Skidmore.
Well, that's how it started, but then they changed it, and it was Sivmore.
Yeah, it was Sivmore.
I mean, there's no worse thing you can say to a goalie than you're a Siv. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I was so pumped up and just so happy that we had won. I just took my stick, put it underneath my arm like a machine gun, and just started aiming it to all the fans, and like I was shooting them all. And it's like, here, right back at you,
That story I remember it, but that story was recollected to me by Richie Schoenfeld, who was the most recent president of the varsity club. And he goes, you gotta ask Skiddy about the machine gun at the Princeton game.
That's the only time I ever did that. I don't know why. I must have just unleashed, after 4 years of just taking harassment and everything, and I finally had enough and let them all have it.
Yeah, take this. I'm taking everybody out with me.
There you go.
Now, let me see. I think we're close here. Do you remember moving us into the house, you and Joey and Tommy Mulvey?
I think I vaguely remember that.
It was the summer that you lived at the other house, and I mean, here's another NCAA violation. My father would be doing 30 years to life for all this stuff. You guys got you got the truck from the rink, probably from Jackie Casey or somebody. You remember Case? He's still over there.
Really? Yeah, we used to work maintenance on the grounds.
Yep. Case is still there.
Wow.
I see him at the games. But you and Joey and Tommy Mulvey moved us. It was like a pickup truck, but I think it was a dump truck. I think the back could go up, and we're going back and forth all day. We did it in one day, and I think my father threw you guys whatever $50 or $100 a piece, and you guys got. I remember he got you Michelob, a 12-pack of Michelob, or a case of Michelob, and ham and cheese sandwiches, and I can picture it now. And my buddy Mike Maloney bought the house from my father, and he played defense at BC in the late '80s. And when I tell him that story, he's like, "No way, Joey Mullen and Skiddy were in my house."
I probably turned around and said, "Well, the beer and sandwiches are mine. What are you guys having?"
Yeah, I think you had 2 or 3.
Maybe.
Perhaps. And I can remember you were driving, Tommy was sitting shotgun, and I'm on the back with Joey, and I'm just like, it was like the coolest thing in the world. We're going up and down Calm Ave, and then we returned the truck and went back to the house and had lunch. But that's a great memory. There was
a lot of those.
Yep. But, man, my father would be doing serious time right now. Serious time. Now, do you know that I think I sent you the picture, the 78 team photo. I'm up in the stands on the right. Lenny was in a bad mood that day, which he often was, and I looked at the previous year's team photo to see where the edge of the photo cut off. And I went up in the stands and sat, because Lenny wouldn't let me get on the ice. And I went up in the stands and sat where I knew I would be in the photo. So if you go down the hall, like where Jerry York's office is up there, they have a team photo of every BC team in history. And I'm on the wall. So that's
one way of making it.
So that was my team. Skiddy, now you coached a bit. What advice would you have for young kids and young players for sports, or for hockey, or for life, or anything?
Oh, well, the main thing is that playing in any sport, you've got to have the mentality. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right, and you've got to do it all the time. You don't want to be developing bad habits. You want to be looking to improve yourself all the time. And you always look for that. But it's also depends on what sport it is. It's always for me it was always team sports. There is no one person for themselves. As a goaltender, it's the last line of defense, but I'm there to help the team. And forwards, sure, they score all the goals and get all the glory, but it's a team effort to where they're the ones scoring, and I'm the one trying to keep them from scoring. But it's what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, and you got to go all in.
Yeah. What about the roller bees? Tell me quickly about the roller bees. You came out and you played 7 games in Utah with the roller bees.
Gosh, I was working for Sport Court at the time, and that was they put all the professional flooring down for volleyball in college and things like that and everything. And we actually I was working for them, and besides in manufacturing, we built portable rinks. So we actually developed a rink to where we'd ship it all over the place. I remember we shipped it to Vegas once, and we I played roller hockey outside, and like 110 degrees. It was just like, oh my gosh. But
you've been sweating your whole life, I think.
it was very different. It was a lot harder to play roller hockey than it was.
Well, there's no lateral movement. How do you move laterally? You can't.
No, you're basically hopping around out there like a kangaroo.
Yeah.
But it was unique. It was a different sport and different style. It was basically the same, but not really.
No, you're a cool dude in a loose mood. Too cool for school. What's your favorite band?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I had a few. I think back in the day was probably AC/DC.
Oh, they should teach that in school. That band is awesome. Right? Now, I know you're an avid golfer. What's your best score for 9 and your best score for 18?
Oh, gosh. I think my best for 18 was probably like 88. And I think for 9 was probably, oh, gosh, I don't know. Probably half that. Yep.
I was usually 88, 89, 90, and the last time I played golf with my dad, his 80th birthday was down in Florida, and he was so friggin' competitive. There were alligators all over the golf course.
Oh, even to this day, I mean, I go out and play with my friends, have a few beers, and it's just like, I have to win.
Yeah. And I beat my dad. I shot my best score ever. I shot an 82, and he walked ahead of me on 18, and I stuck it on the pin. He was pissed. He was rip shit. I think I beat him by like two strokes or something. He could crush it, man.
Yeah, I think I played with my dad 2 times. And I remember one time he just threw the club up in a tree. And I know one time when I was a kid, before I really started playing, it was one story I heard that he actually just got fed up, got frustrated with the game, and took his gloves and just threw them in the lake.
Do you shoot lefty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. And my 2 brothers do too. We play together. People think we're from another planet. It's crazy. All right, Skitty, you have any final thoughts, bud?
No, it was just a wonderful part of my life to play at BC, and never forget probably most of the times that I had there. And it was just neat to experience. With the friends that you make. I mean, Joey and I were enemies as kids, and we ended up being roommates in college, and it was just one of my best friends.
When you think about it, you guys were teammates for a decade.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, right? The Salt Lake,
Yeah.
What was that like over at Salt Lake? When you were playing for the Eagles out there, you didn't have to change your mask, obviously.
Yeah, well, I went to a cage mask, and so I could see a little bit better. But it was a league that was it's like college hockey, to where the American League was more heavy duty slap shot type of thing, as far as it was more physical.
Right.
And the Central League that I played Salt Lake with was a faster skating game.
Yeah. Slapshot was a documentary as far as the AHL was concerned.
Kind of like it. Take bits and pieces and then pretty much make the movie.
Yeah. I met Paul D'Amato at Augie's golf tournament 2 years ago, Dr. Hook and Slapshot. I'll send you the video. He told me the whole story about being with Paul Newman and stuff. It was pretty cool. And we filmed him giving me his line to Paul Newman, which I think but we can't say it on camera. We're trying to be a family show. I know I cursed a little bit, but not bad.
You were okay.
Yeah. But who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
One for the road.
Yeah, one for the road, kid. Here's one for the road. I just cracked my second one of the day, so here we go. And I had a Winston cigarette for you last night.
Don't remind me.
I had a Winston. Did my father ever give you crap about that?
I don't know if they ever knew. So it's not like, just walk down the street just having a smoke,
Yeah.
It was more parties and stuff like that and everything, but
You know what? Now that I think about it, he couldn't give you crap because my mother smoked 5 packs a day,
wow.
and my father never had a cigarette, and he never had a hot dog in his life. I used to think he was a communist. I was like,
I still live on hot dogs.
oh man, I'm good for 2 a week. I'm good for 1 tonight, I think. Let me see. All right. I want to thank you, and I'm so glad that we reconnected. And it's a funny thing. When I was a kid, and when you're 5 or 6 years older than somebody, you're not peers. And you were my idol. But it's funny when you get older. You become peers, and it's kind of cool. So
it is. It is.
So I'm really grateful for that. My dad loved the hell out of you, and all the
He was a good man, good coach.
all the BC guys. I'll put it this way: nobody has a bad word to say about you. Everybody remembers you as the best. So,
except Jimmy Craig.
Well. Skiddy, I almost said it. I almost said 2 words. The first one begins with F.
Just show what he did. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, well, I told this story, so the first word I was going to say was fire truck, and the second one was him. So enjoy your family today. It's a beautiful day here. What's it like out there? Nice day out?
Beautiful. It's too nice to be indoors.
Well, get outside, get some sun on that beak, and kiss the bride. And again, thank you, Pam, for letting me steal the kid for a while. And Andrew, pleasure to say hello to you. And
you as well.
And God bless you all. All right. And I wish we could have done this face to face, but proximity prevented that, and because we're both technological retards, we couldn't do it on a computer. So, but this is good, and I hopefully will have this done this week, and you'll be the first cat that I send it to.
I'd really love to hear it. It sounds wonderful.
All right, kid. I love you, buddy, and I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you whenever.
All right, stay in touch, Joey. I'll talk to you real soon, okay?
All right, kiss the bride, kid. I'll talk to you later.
All righty, have a good day.
All right, peace out.
Bye-bye.